morning, everyone. I hope everyone's been healthy and safe. We've been doing pretty well. We've actually had a staycation this past week, so fortunately, we've been enjoying some time together with our family. Today's passage is from Psalm 91, verses 1 through 4. So let's read this passage together. Verse 1. Those who live in the shelter of the Most High will find rest in the shadow of the Almighty. This I declare about the Lord. He alone is my refuge, my place of safety. He is my God, and I trust him. For he will rescue you from every trap and protect you from deadly disease. He will cover you with his feathers. He will shelter you with his wings. His faithful promises are your armor and protection. This is the word of God. For those of you who grew up in Texas, you're probably very well aware of the intensity of a Texas summer. You don't have to really spend very much time outdoors to know how hot it can get. Particularly these days, we're reaching super, high numbers above 100 degrees. My family and I, like I said, we've been enjoying a staycation at home. And as much as it's difficult to stay indoors, sometimes when we try to go outside, it only takes a few minutes before you notice you start sweating. And really, during that period, when you go back indoors, you really appreciate what shelter and shade can provide in terms of relief from the cruel summer heat. The Psalm passage from this morning, it's very relatable in this aspect. The psalmist writes, for those who live in the shelter of the Most High, they will find rest in the shadow of the Almighty. This is very vivid imagery of this comforting shelter, this cooling shade and shadow that comes from God, our Father. Without a protective shelter or shade, we're vulnerable to not just heat, but exposure from the elements, from disease, from evil. And really, we need to rely on God. We need to trust in him. And we need to continually chase after him to protect us from all these difficult things that can continually attack us. Just like we need shelter from 100-degree weather, we need shelter from the traps that can lead us to fall into sin and temptation. So, and I think moreover, in the verse 3, he says he will rescue you from every trap and protect you from deadly disease. And particularly, this is so appropriate for these days, as we struggle with the growing pandemic of COVID-19, particularly in Texas and Houston. I think there's a lot of fear, there's a lot of apprehension, there's a lot of frustration as well, with this disease, and is there going to be some type of relief from this pandemic? This passage, and I don't want people to misunderstand to say that we should neglect conventional wisdom, or we should not wear masks, or just say, God will protect us. No, I think God has given us wisdom to use certain tools and certain knowledge for our benefit. But at the same time, I don't think we need to live paralyzed by fear of the unknown, fear of, am I going to die from a deadly disease? Am I going to, fall sick? Is my family going to fall sick? Sure, any of those things could happen, but I think as true believers, we have a loving and caring Father who watches over us, and as we put our trust in him, he's going to be our shelter. He's going to be our protector and defender against these ailments. So how do we know that we're secure? All of us have different relationships with different people. Whether it be your family members, your friends, people at work, at church, school. One thing you learn as the longer you live is there's very few people, if any, that are fully trustworthy. No matter how good of a person somebody tries to be, at some point they're going to fail you. They're going to either break a promise, or they're not going to be able to meet your expectations. But the one thing we know is that God never fails. He never breaks his promise. He's always there, and he's always true to his word. So even though we are so weak and fallible, he's always faithful. So we know we can put our trust and our faith in God. So I'd just like to kind of give a couple application points regarding this passage. And so first of all, I think it's very easy. For any of you who have to go outdoors at some point, just kind of meditate on this passage for just a few minutes. As you kind of stand there in the sun or in the heat, and as you start to begin to sweat, just imagine, what shelter and what a shadow of a comforting shadow means to you. It's very tangible, and it's a very realistic and practical way you can kind of think of, how much I need some protection from this exposure. And just kind of meditate on how God protects us every day against all the spiritual attacks, all the temptations and trials that constantly come our way. The second application is just take some time to kind of think to yourself if there's a particular concern that you have, whether it be a relationship problem, financial or job situation, a health issue, and just put that prayer up to God and just pray to Him very specifically about that particular request, and just say that, God, please protect me, be my shelter, hide me in the shelter of your wings. Protect me against this because I'm very fearful. I don't know how to handle the situation. And God will always be faithful. He always answers the cry of His children when they come to Him with a right heart and right mind. Just be very, very specific in your prayer, and just continually cry out to Him, and see if He guards your heart and your mind as He has promised in His book. So I think with those 2 points, let's continually press on. Let's continually rely on Him. So let's not give up our hope and give up our faith. Let's continually pray for each other. And I hope you all continually stay safe and healthy, and have a great week. I'm constantly praying for all you guys. All right, take care.